Okay, guys, so we're going to get started here in a second. But as you know, Axel is here to teach you guys a lesson today, and I don't want to steal his thunder, he'll go through everything with you about what he's going to teach. But please, obviously, give him your undivided attention. I know his lesson plan, so it's got a lot of information, which is good stuff. He's got a bunch of different group activities that you guys will be doing. Do you want to do them, or you put them into the dollars and cents group and then the non?
Sure.
Okay, so one thing to keep in mind, when he goes to the group work, he'll probably say like 3 groups maybe, or 4, whatever he says. But those of you, raise your hand if you were dollars and cents. So just the 3 of you guys, okay? So you 4 groups. Okay, so you 3 guys will be in a group together. And then the other people who didn't take dollars and cents, you can partner up with anybody in class and just create a group of 3 or 4, okay? But I know really what you care about is Axel. I know it's really the test, you guys tell. So let me give you your test back really quickly. We will go over these on Thursday. Which you guys did really well. Caleb? Fagan? So when you get them back, I just want you to do one quick thing. Nora, take a look at your Peyton matching, average, and multiple choice. Alex?
I didn't know this one. That's probably
Ellie? Audrey? Gracie? Me? Darius? Okay, so if you guys looked really quickly at your matching and compared it to your multiple choice, raise your hand if you got a higher percent on multiple choice. Very good, that's what I thought it was, just one person in here. Now, to put it in perspective, and why is that the case?
probably mixed up.
Because multiple choice is harder, and you know the explanation. If I said to her, Ellie did really well. If I said, Ellie, you can go back and retake the matching, would you want to do that? Yeah, she just mixed up 2 terms. So, in the grand scheme of things, she did super, super well on multiple choice, which doesn't surprise me. She made a very tiny error on matching, but if she had it to do over again, she would get those questions right and end up doing the same. Most of you guys, in fact, let's do this. How many of you guys did exactly the same?
On what?
Matching and multiple choice. A large amount of you. And the reason is you do really well on both. The only explanation for why kids tend to do significantly different on multiple choice and matching is how do they do on matching? If they do worse, if they do better on multiple choice, how do they do on matching?
Really bad.
Really bad. It's actually very rare to see them kind of super close together. Typically, massive underperformance on matching is the explanation. Okay, so what's that? Yeah, so a lot of you guys are pretty close. Like you got a perfect score on matching, and you got one of the multiple choice wrong. But think about it. The next test is 33 multiple choice questions. The test after that is 50 multiple choice. So do you think you'll get 1 wrong? No, you'll probably get 3 wrong. Yeah, 0 wrong. You'll get more than that wrong, but I'll curve it. Okay. All right. Let's turn our attention over to Axel and enjoy his lesson.
Hi guys, I'm Axel Okada. I'm currently an 11th grader here at GCS, and I'm part of the Entrepreneurship Global Scholars Program. So a bit of background on me. Back when I was in 8th grade, I took Mr. Stewart's Dollars and Cents class, and that's really what introduced me to the world of finance and business. And now it's something that I'm very focused on in school and possibly I'm going to pursue in college. So for those of you who aren't in Mr. Stewart's Dollars and Cents class, I wanted to come here and give you an opportunity to be introduced to this new field of study. Because I'm sure you guys have studied literature since 2nd grade, but you haven't had a class about finance or anything like that. So I just wanted to introduce you to the 3 assets today so that you can get a better understanding of that. Now, before I start, I want to talk about a relationship between risk and return. Any of these dollars and cents know what I'm talking about? That's right, and the opposite is also true. So when you have a very low risk investment, you have a very low return. Now basically what he's talking about is there's 3 different asset classes, and each of them have their own types of risk involved in it. So can you guys name the 3 asset classes? Do you think you could name one of them maybe?
You can name 2 of them.
Yep, stocks is
Bonds.
definitely one of them.
Bonds.
Bonds. Alright, what's the final one? It's the easiest one, guys.
Real?
Cash, exactly.
Oh.
So, let's start with cash. Tell me some characteristics of cash, guys. Just don't overthink it.
The green.
Paper.
It's paper, okay? So you can physically hold it. Sure. What about the risk when you have cash? When you keep money as cash, what do you do?
It can be stolen, I would think.
It can be stolen, yeah, but possibility is low. So there's not much risk. Like, okay, let's say this, you have a $5 bill, you put it in your pocket, and then you go to the store and buy some candy. It's not gonna turn into a $1 bill or a $10 bill, it's still gonna be a $5 bill. So we're gonna say that has super low risk. What does that mean in terms of return?
No.
Right. And then we're also gonna look at some different scenarios. So I want you guys to be familiar with, let's say, the characteristics of a person who, like what type of people would you want to have them invest in cash? So if we have a person that's very old or close to retirement, that usually signals they should keep some of their money in cash because, you know, they're old, they worked their whole life, they want to have some money now to enjoy themselves. So definitely an older person or a person going into retirement is something you should look for in our group activity. And then finally, something else that you guys should know is if you're looking to buy a house, what do you think? You should have a lot of cash or a little bit of cash? A little bit of cash? Why? Huh?
Like, a lot, compared to what it's hard to.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're gonna talk about the two other asset classes, like you said, stocks and bonds. Like if you're gonna make a huge purchase, you're gonna buy a car, you're gonna buy a house, or you have to pay off debts, what asset do you think you need right now? Exactly. So if you have a huge purchase in the near future, then you're gonna wanna have some cash on you. And then we're gonna move to the next one, bonds. You guys have any characteristics you think are involved with bonds?
They take time.
Right. So we're typically looking at 3 to 6 years to mature. And simple definition of bonds is another way of calling bonds is fixed income. So basically, you give money to either a government or a company, and over a period of 3 to 6 years, they're going to return monthly payments to you with a fixed interest rate. So if I give this, what is your name right here?
William?
If I give William $100, over 1 year, he's gonna pay me back $10, but also with maybe a 5% interest rate. So I'm gonna be receiving the principal as well as interest with that type of asset. You guys have any other characteristics you think are involved with bonds? Yeah?
Like a slow but steady growth.
Right, so there's pretty good rate of growth. So your rate of return is about 3 to, let's say, 5% rate of return. And you guys know what I mean when I say rate of return?
How much you get back?
Yeah, exactly. It's also, how about risk, guys, for bonds?
It's pretty safe.
It's pretty safe, but compared to cash, what do you think?
It's
Less safe.
But
Right.
it's still safe.
So it is slightly more risky. And in terms of age, when we're gonna look at the scenarios, what age do you think a person should be investing in bonds?
40, 50.
Yeah, exactly, perfect, middle age. And then we're gonna talk about, finally, stocks. So, what are some characteristics of stocks, guys? Yeah?
Young people have a lot of them.
Great. Yeah,
Very changeable.
very. So, we're gonna use the term volatile, which is a financial term for basically saying that the price of the stock can fluctuate. So what you're doing when you're buying a stock is you're basically owning part of a company. So, you know, Apple or Google, they each have different stocks that they sell and you can buy them. And the price changes every minute. So what we're gonna say is, yeah, it's very volatile, which means, what about the risk?
It's high.
Exactly. And what does that also mean about the return then? If it's
High.
very
High.
risky.
Should be.
Perfect. So, I would definitely agree with you guys about the age of a young person. We're gonna talk about the actual year amount is like more than 8 years, so people your age, I would definitely recommend start investing in some stocks, because that's something I regret that I didn't do in 8th grade. Kept minus cash, and now I just recently bought a car, and I wouldn't have, I could have bought a better car if I had invested in either bonds or stocks, but I kept mining cash. So that's a regret that I have, that you guys should take advantage of. Now, we talk about the differences of each asset, but really what you guys need to understand is that you can't just have all bonds, or you can't just have all cash, you can't just have all stocks. There's something called diversification, and I'm sure you guys know about that. Can you guys give a simple definition of that? Yeah.
So,
It means that you like put it in different things, like you have.
Right. And this is,
Quinn, are you dollars and cents as well?
Yeah.
So two of the guys who came in later.
yeah, we
were
might
dollars and
have
cents.
to split it
Yeah,
up more.
yeah.
So, basically, one of the things when you're making your recommendations for the particular scenarios that I'm going to present to you soon, you need to remember that you can't just say 100% stocks, because, you know, let's say something happens to the stock market, you're going to have no money, and that's not going to make anybody happy. So, I think we should start getting into groups. I guess how many people do we have? 15? Do you want to do 5 groups of 3, guys?
yeah, sure.
Okay, excellent. So, you guys can choose your groups. I'm gonna hand out this. It has, I have the directions on here, but please feel free to ask me. I'm gonna be walking around the room if you have a question.
Jamie, you and Warren.
There's,
Actually, can we do 3 groups of 5?
Sure, sure.
Because then the dollars and censors move to the back.
Okay, perfect.
And then the girls can be a group over here. And then the non-dollars and cents boys can be kind of in the front left. So like William, so maybe William, if you move over to that corner. And then that way we have 3 distinct groups.
Everybody have a handout? So guys, once you finish working as a group, I would like some of you to present, like for question 1, I would like one representative from each group to share your allocation with the class. And just be sure to explain why you chose what you chose. Because there's no right or wrong answer, as long as you justify it. That's all.
Yeah, John.
Wait, John, what? Bring this.
so I was already, so.
Okay,
Guys, basically, you can just give mine
definitely will.
Actually, no, it's pretty honest. 30 not like 25.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Our parents could, but then you were like 25. Let's just say we have $1 million. If we lose 50%, that's fine.
I'll take 30. That's
40 still stocks.
I say we definitely want to. And we need to.
Yes.
By the way, there's more than one question, so we should think about this.
Cash, we do 80% stocks, 10% cash, 10%.
And then we would have
And then we do
40
40
bonds.
bonds.
I like Peyton.
Or
We have the same amount of stocks and
85
bonds and then 3% cash.
5 bonds, 10 cash.
Actually,
I don't think we need as much.
So, 80, 10.
Yeah, I mean.
Do you have to have all?
30 for cash and bonds.
I like.
I see switch bonds at 35. I still think we should do 30% stocks.
Yeah.
Do we have to have all 3?
25% cash.
Do we have to have like all 3 cash? 35% bonds.
I mean, if you want to have 0% one of them, you can.
25%
As long as you
cash,
justify it, that's fine.
35% bonds, 40% stocks.
Yeah.
Should we just like?
Yeah,
35?
Yeah.
But what happens if
I
it's
don't know why
what happens
they
if the stock
say
market goes down?
Just
Pretty
like-
much happens.
Well, we put it in different stocks.
So one thing you
Not
gotta
all the
remember
stocks,
is
so-
for stocks, over a long period of time, the risk is highly diminished. So although it is a very risky thing, you know, when you're investing for more than 8 years, you're gonna get pretty close.
Okay.
Yeah.
So don't, I mean, unless you're very, very scared
That
of
affects
risk,
our
if you just put it in the account over time, you're gonna experience a rate. So even if you are a little bit afraid of risk, I would still definitely recommend it.
Yes, but we're
Yeah, 20%. Because it's
So
not,
why
why
did
do you
you
guys
say
not say but like say, you put some in the Yahoo, you put some in Google, you put some in Yahoo. Yeah. And that, yeah, oh yeah, I forgot about it, it did that.
Wait,
did you say 8%? Yeah, so you do all that. One of them might go down, but the other one might not. So you still have to-
It's like,
It doesn't really
are
matter.
we wasting time? Wait, y'all.
So I'll just explain why.
Yeah, whatever.
So now I'll just write down a little
It's
something about
like
explaining why.
10.
What we have right now. Yeah, you invested in
It's a high risk, but over,
Yeah,
like,
which one is
just a
that?
high risk over time, it's
Final
steady
vote.
income.
Yeah, so for Darius right stocks.
Do you guys just wanna do 90?
60
5%, 5%.
Okay, that's fine. But over time, this is reduced.
What about like 35 and like?
Yeah, but what if you have to buy something if you don't?
Your parents have
Just,
to.
yeah, like, they don't buy
I think
everything.
it's
Bonds-
just more
bonds
like
aren't
we
that-
have like.
Exactly. But think about it. You're putting literally all your life savings. 40% stocks, or not all of it.
Well, you can leave it out.
I like paying them.
But then it's.
Yeah,
I-
30, 40.
45 is 40.
Let's get it 20% cash and 45%.
That sounds good. Yeah, just justify it.
And make the bonds the same.
Yeah.
Alright,
Yeah,
yeah.
and stocks.
Yeah,
That makes
but
more sense
also
for
five.
us.
Yeah.
45 in stocks.
I mean.
Bonds.
You never need that.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're not that old.
We will not.
Oh. So we only cash when we get older. So we were just saying that 20% cash.
And we can say we won't need as much cash initially. No, listen, we won't need as much cash initially, but once our stocks start making more money and we need more cash, we can pull stuff out of that and put it into cash. So fine. Yeah, we're not as much cash initially, and once we make bonds are like our backup. No cash.
No, bonds are like kind of like back.
Yeah, and
Yeah, so they really
it
can't.
makes more sense for
There's
us
not much
to
I do.
60%. You don't go too much for it.
Bonds are like,
Changing it to like 60% backup.
and the bonds are kind of our steady, we're still we're steady.
No, I got it from my-
Bonds are, bonds are steady.
I think 60-40.
I'm gonna put, we'll just put, medium low risk.
Yeah, I know it is now.
Bonds are, medium low risk, steady.
Yeah.
I'm actually just putting no risk.
Imagine the people that put no risk.
It's sort of.
No, we just write, we will not need as much cash initially, once we make money from the other assets. We'll have
So
more
right,
cash
no risk.
initially. Yeah.
And we just have to use it when we get older.
Yeah.
When we're retired.
To like talk Audrey. Doing like rock paper scissors for forever. It's the best 2 out of 3.
I just need to save up like a good chunk of money
I guess
every time I do something.
Why don't you just ask your.
I
have like $4,000. I mean, if we're, I can't, I can only put things in.
My grandpa,
Like,
You guys have any trouble?
yeah, because Jonathan, think like, so you said 1 million, so then 20% of that, 200,000, and then that splits to each of us, so it's 5. So you have to divide by 5. So 50,000 would be each of us. Yeah. That's the only amount. It's not too much, but it's not too low.
You guys sticking to your 80-10?
I'll read mine.
Would you guys write for cash? I said cash usually.
For cash? Actually, we won't need as much initially. Yeah, we won't need as much cash initially, and once we make more money from the
Right now,
There's
we
a-
can pull stuff out and have more cash.
I mean.
Got $10.
If you're ready.
70-year-old lady.
I mean, I have like $30 for candy, so.
we have to make recommendations about how they should go.
See, if you guys want to, you can do questions on your own, it's totally up to you, if you want to do it as a group, go ahead.
Alright, so what's who's on is
I mean, like, we also can say that, like.
Gain experience
I mean, it's nice to talk this, yeah.
Yeah, we'll do it on our own, then we can kind of come back as a group.
I like that.
So I'm thinking like maybe 40
So
and
guys,
bonds.
if you're ready to move on to number 2,
What, for the old
you can either
lady?
do that as a group or
She
individually.
needs some cash
But
though.
I would definitely recommend talking it out
70-year-old
with each
lady.
other.
Oh, yeah.
It's nice.
She's going to travel, no, she's traveling.
I would say less
I'd
talk than more
say
fun.
maybe
Yeah, but
60
she
in
also needs
bonds,
cash.
40 in cash.
Okay.
20%.
Like
I
seven,
780.
We should do it individually
like
and then.
put into the overall.
Yeah, definitely. You guys don't have to do that as a group if you don't want to, but I would definitely recommend discussing it as a group.
She's gonna want more than 40 in cash.
Yeah, sorry, kind of messed up when I printed, there's lines on the other side.
Oh,
That's my bad. Printed.
a lot of cash and then some bonds.
Months, yeah, she needs money. And she also has to exchange it.
Yeah, I said,
Oh, we both said.
She plans on traveling.
I said 75%.
I said 70
I would
because
say
she can still have
70.
some.
Yeah, I would say
Still need to invest.
How much money bonds?
I'm gonna say 10% bonds.
10,
20%.
and that's a 20% stock.
That's what I'm getting.
20% stock. I put 10. Yeah.
Okay.
Wait.
Bonds? I'm gonna go with that's what you do. I'm gonna go 75.
60 bonds.
Bonds take like up to 6 years. Take all the money in bonds.
Actually, no, traveling is only
She
so.
should have bonds.
No,
She could be like
And it
dead.
depends on what money, but she's only
Well,
traveling for a month.
You
she should also be dead in 8
Making
years.
enough
Then
money.
maybe she
Yeah,
could,
but
like,
she
go
has
for
to send my
There's
parents.
6 months, we don't know. Or
It's
she
not
wanted
that,
to
that
let
should be
have
the
it.
least. Bonds.
Yeah, so we do have to.
Yeah.
Change
No, I
bonds,
said 75% cash,
Bonds are the.
20%
and then put 5 here, 75.
I said 85. I said 70.
I'm doing 25.
Yeah, 25.
Wait, no. Yes,
No, you keep that 20 with the 5.
so she can buy her new. Why can't you
Apple's
put?
expensive.
75,
She can sell the
25.
stocks.
Oh, parents
I
are
put
paying
70,
75.
75.
Yeah,
And sure,
stocks
for sure.
Yeah, I
Why
said
did she
stocks.
sell it?
What?
I said no.
Why didn't you say
It does work. I put 75, 15 there. Wait, 15 stocks.
I did 85.
I put 75 cash, 20 stock, 5 bonds.
he has no expenses.
Wait, no,
No,
I meant the
So
other.
his parents are just gonna
Yeah.
pay for everything.
No, it's put stocks.
Yeah, he's gonna like buy food and like pay his rent. Okay, so maybe like 20% cash. Yeah.
I have that.
Maybe it's how much.
Should I?
Is there anything else with that?
No, it's like you said.
Yeah.
I'm gonna just throw it everywhere.
You know, it's not just,
I said like
you have to think about it real.
I
Passes away.
No, I think it's not.
You guys are on the right track thinking about that.
Whoa. If she could pass away, think about this. If she has a will, then
I think you
her
said more
inheritance and bonds will absolutely pass down to someone. And if that person is young, the bonds will
Like,
be.
yeah,
Bonds
bonds are for people who like are a pre-retirement, you know, they're like in their 40s.
You want the money for yourself, right?
Don't you have like
You worked so hard your whole life, you want to spend your money.
I'm gonna say
My dad.
That's very, very good thing, but let's keep it, you know, very
you
simple,
get all of
perfect.
it?
Cash. I'm going 18% stocks. Keep it in
You guys have any questions?
For B, I'm doing 65%.
Are you guys coming?
Oh, no, I'm talking about-
these breakdowns, or you
And
just-
for B, I'm doing it.
I'm doing it on our own, so we're like talking.
It'll be interesting.
40%. He only needs like 5% cash.
You guys go for
50% bonds, 20% cash, 30%.
Wait, yeah, 80%.
No,
Wait,
this
this one?
Oh,
No, he wants to
Because
like,
like,
he needs
because
like,
if she's already invested in stocks, then she could have.
Yeah, he has
I feel like
to- he's
Oh,
like
I-
cash.
like, she
Yeah, I
can't,
know,
like,
so
start
I'm
investing
gonna
in
put it
stocks
back.
when
Let's
she-
just say she's
Because
70% cash.
because like bonds are only.
You still want some bonds in case
cash
this
and
just
stocks,
fails.
like,
But-
doesn't have to count anyway.
I said
So we started to convert for B, I'm saying
Oh,
70,
18.
and then
I say
70,
I'm gonna say bonds,
20,
35% cash.
30% cash.
I'm gonna go 99.99. And then point.
Challenge.
Yeah, I'm gonna invest the rest.
so if 400 grand, that would be bonds.
So why would he invest more than what he's trying to do right now?
Cause that's middle. No,
Yeah.
he wants to purchase a luxury car and a new home.
He wants to buy a new house for luxury car.
So
So you should have more in cash.
Like he wants to purchase a luxury car and a new home.
You need a lot of
A
cash.
lot of cash for that.
I would say like 60.
So this guy,
I
so
say-
you want a lot of bonds.
I'd say
He doesn't
50.
No,
have-
we're talking about C.
So he has no.
I know. So you're only a lot of stocks. He wants a luxury car, yeah, I said
I would say
50% cash,
50%.
10%
So
bonds,
that leaves
40%
us
stocks.
60.
Here, I don't
No,
think.
bonds.
Like, he's 40.
Like you should have more 25 and stocks. 25,
No, you should
25 bonds, you should have more
You
bonds.
should have more than 10% bonds.
Hey, we
This
both
one.
have
That's not, no.
No, it is.
I-
He doesn't have to make any obviously expenses for the next 8 years. So you want
You want to want cash for minor purchases.
He's gonna wanna build,
No,
he's
you
gonna have
want
to
cash
buy
for
a
big purchases.
hotel or pay rent.
Like, he's still gonna-
buy a hotel.
No, you want a lot in stocks.
So he just
right?
need- he
But
just
what
need
happens
a lot
with
of
stocks?
stocks.
Yes, he does, you need cash.
Oh,
No,
No,
you
have
can buy
you-
shoes.
You're gonna need the.
You can buy stuff for yourself, you can buy stuff for your computer, you can buy stuff for books.
No, it's like obvious
just save it.
expenses.
Obvious expenses meaning like college and other big expenses. So I say still keep 10%. I want to go for minor purchases that you might want.
If you wanna get like a nice house.
I'm saying you need more bonds.
I'm saying you're
I
wrong.
said 70.
You need more bonds. Guys, I feel like if he's not gonna get his money till 3 years, I just need it. You got 8 years.
Then,
No, look at the, it says
I'm just saying,
challenge,
add
try
bonds.
using actual dollar amounts.
Take away from the stocks.
then do 7 and 13. Don't keep the stocks as it is.
No,
But
He has no obvious expenses. The stocks become more reliable after 8 years.
He has
He's
no
expected that. Look, this 8 years gives his stocks time to kind of stabilize. So by the time these 8 years are up, his stocks, he'll make a lot more money.
Yeah, since it's already the edge, you can have.
Oh, they're only 18.
Amount of money he makes yearly.
Yeah, I think that's why I say keep 80%. That's a
You guys don't
lot.
have to agree. That's
He's
fine.
saying 70.
And stocks are fast.
You guys
No, I
don't
just
have
used
to
to
agree.
And then
I feel like you should try.
So then I said-
Yeah, that's
Try
what
to
I'm saying.
get like a new money from you.
65.
You guys have
And
one
then
last
so that
question?
you can use to pay off your
That's
house.
too little.
And then.
But you have to.
No, Maybe an over.
You just say like how much in terms of the 7%.
I mean, if you think about it, that means it's gonna buy like.
And then
20.
It's not gonna buy you a house, it's not gonna buy you a house.
Then he's going to have 0 in cash.
You know, if you know you're gonna make more
But
money,
the problem is he
then
doesn't
you
make
put
the
50%
70,000.
stocks, 25% cash, 5% bonds, and 30% robberies.
So, I know, but he has to pay the debt at some
They get a
point. He
huge
doesn't make.
lump of
Are you on the channel?
So if you make 70,000.
We're just really
Wait, so what about you guys say? What's going on?
And then you can take the 5,000, pay the first month's rent.
No, I
pay the rest of it.
Yeah, but you also need.
Just do like a month.
Yeah, but
like
he's
50% cash.
Alright,
for the lot.
Isn't it a bit like Preston? He should try and lower his cash because it doesn't matter. He doesn't need it for free company.
Take like a sweaty hand.
Oh, yeah.
Like, you should just try out his cash reserve so he doesn't.
I feel like there's
Alright,
something
so-
like it's like exactly the point where it's like, and you just gotta.
Oh, yeah, I know.
How much cash you got.
2,000.
Give him Eddie. He'll just.
I'm 47. I didn't say that. Oh, yeah, pay off that.
I say he puts the 5,000 in the bonds and just.
Did you explain?
Did you guys answer the chat?
Well, you can.
Maybe for the future. So you have
What's up,
50.
Will?
Finance
So
strategy
just not
makes.
for easy for me.
I'd say if I was like.
If he makes that much money, then he makes that
Just ignore tax for this.
Then he has all the money that he's getting from his job and this stuff.
Wait, so he only has.
I'm just gonna say rent one word.
No, but 35 and 50.
I agree.
Wait, how does that not break?
Are we saying that this is after his first year? Like he has $70,000? Or are we advising him what to do? Now he's down to $50,000. We're on the road. I'm gonna put that $5,000. I said 50% cash and then 30% bond and 20%.
He's trying to buy a lunch.
Yeah, 35.
Oh, he needs a lot of money. He needs like
As soon as he
$7.
gets his junior
I'm
cert.
saying just put let's ask him, should we assume that the first year of his payment hasn't happened yet or hasn't already?
Let's ask.
Wait, how much is he paying off the debt?
It hasn't, because otherwise it wouldn't say.
No, well, it might say
$5,000
so.
cash.
But then we would
But
have to be
but
splitting
still,
up.
he needs advice for investments, either way, so for the challenge, are we assuming that he's already been paid 70,000 or that he still has to be paid?
Assume that he just got his paycheck. So he has $7,000.
So he's
He
75,000.
has $70,000 to reserve.
Oh, yeah.
And then in 1 year, he's gonna make that again.
Wait, 10,000 a year for.
So let's say, I'm gonna say.
Aren't you glad you threw the 10,000 just in case?
I'm gonna say.
Just ignore
Some
that.
cash.
That will just complicate the problem.
$25,000.
It's fine to give them.
He's gonna need like.
I-
He's gonna need like.
Okay.
Fire period with this.
Okay,
But it
so.
doesn't say that this is gonna be doing
We're
it.
going to go over every.
About 110.
Wait, doing 50%
So he's
off.
gonna tell us
That
how
might be a
long.
good idea.
Yeah, so that's why we're saying we're going over every year.
Yeah.
Because we're not thinking about it. What are we gonna do?
Yeah.
This is our advice.
Actually, I'm gonna put 10,000.
This is like the first year at college.
It's
going to
like
25.
I love you.
And 24 you graduate college.
Okay, let's say you use 40 during the payment.
Before you guys come on.
I said, I said, hey, I'm
Let's
not
say you use
10,000 cash.
$10,000 left. And he's gonna need a lot of
But you need more bonds.
45,000
And then-
stocks.
That's his middle wage, he's not
So this is what I got.
No, he needs more stocks than bonds.
And then
He needs more stocks.
What about this? So you're saying just
This
pay the
kid.
debt
No,
off?
we're not.
So, yeah, this guy needs more
No,
bonds.
he needs more bonds.
Yeah,
But he still needs
And
cash.
then-
He doesn't need a lot more bonds, but he needs more bonds.
Yeah, I said he has
The one
10,
thing-
he has 10% more bonds than stocks, so I said.
I guess they have 10% more stocks.
I would say that they're pretty
You
close.
put in five.
If you're doing 10% more stocks and bonds, I say switch it and make it.
We're going over 3-year period.
401k.
Oh.
So like add, no, add 5 to the bonds.
Okay, that sounds high.
Caleb, what did you get from your money?
We just added it to
My money
the
goes
value
on
times.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay, so 75, so
So
mine.
Or should he?
Yeah.
To
Yeah.
me, that's the most complicated question.
I forgot.
We don't pay off debt sooner than.
Now that's your just pay off right now.
Okay, so.
No,
Is gonna
You said,
a word?
you said you added the.
Wait, so then for all the other questions,
Paid
when they
10,000
add
the first
should we
year
back
and
that
then
up?
I like that everywhere, I feel like I should understand something. And that was like, $7,000 was like.
No, it would take 3 though. People use it in interest.
No, it doesn't.
Do you ever write this word?
Plus the whatever other number is. So I say 10,000
Yeah,
first right now.
Yeah,
And then next year pay off the rest.
Yeah.
Like, I'm gonna do something.
Yeah, like say that he's gonna. And you but
Yeah,
they can say like going.
It's going
I
to.
feel like going to is like I'm like they're gonna be like Ellie, like you know did not. No, she's not. She's not. Wait, how did you add the thing?
So are you?
Wait, what
I think.
So he gets every 7. What'd you guys do? Right?
I'm gonna put all.
She told me she added the 5,000.
You guys done, all done?
Oh.
Oh, she did do that.
No, she's not. She
No,
knows.
it's just 1 year. So that's 500 next year. They're still doing
You
something.
don't take 10%.
So should we get it all right now?
Right? You're saying about like 10,000 the first year.
Just see if you can make money or make them.
1,000.
Pay off 10,000
And then the rest.
Gambling with your life.
Alright guys, in about 3 minutes,
The
we're
rest
gonna.
pay off with the bonds.
No, the rest,
Not bonds.
next year, I think my dad's actually taking.
Yeah, you're
I'm gonna lose all the money.
My mom, she hates stocks.
Put 30,000.
My dad takes
Well,
stocks.
I haven't 10, so I
The interest won't be that much though. If you
So
can.
you guys, are you gonna present it all together?
He pays.
Just gonna send it?
Oh, but then you guys just wrote he's putting in
After
10,000.
he pays 10,000 first year.
Okay, so that leaves us with
And he gets
I think we're gonna talk
$5,000.
about this question
No.
because
Wait, why do you, he already put 5,000 in bonds, so he
Yeah.
looks like 60,000.
and
And
then I say we
he
put.
invests 5,000 in bonds.
I'm gonna put you guys.
He should put, he should put 30,000 in stocks.
I would say it was just based on.
You guys
Oh, yeah, that's
Let's
like house.
do
Yeah.
one
No, it's
person,
it's
one
100,000 in
representative from
stocks,
the group, or you
80,000
guys
in
can do it all
cash,
together.
and then.
Question one, we're just gonna share our opinions.
20,000.
Guys, we have together, or?
No, we have 80.
Caleb.
Yeah,
Or let's do it together.
Yeah,
Wait, no, sorry.
Everyone's
So
saying.
35,000 cash. I feel like we're.
Yeah, one
We are.
representative
Yeah.
as a whole group, and we're
Oh,
gonna do
share
question one.
challenge.
I like the challenge.
So,
No, we
just
said
gonna
for this
decide.
long.
So,
So after the next page, yes, but I did.
You have more than 5,000 dollars. It depends on, because say you got 7,000 next year for like
What to invest.
he's raising this.
Alright, guys.
And at this point, you can buy a house.
I'm talking about
They're
those
gonna
like,
present first, so. give them
and
their-
those like investments.
Yeah, so that's
You can invest a little more, a little more bonds and then buy a house.
Give them
And
their,
stocks.
give them your attention, please.
Okay.
Okay.
Alright, guys, you're up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so for number one, we said 30% cash, 30% bonds, 40% stocks. And we said this because cash is safe, and so if 60% of our investments fail, we have that to fall back on. And then by the time the bonds are paid back, we're actually able to purchase the large purchases such as like houses and cars.
Very good. Alright. Do you guys have any differences, or are you guys pretty similar to that?
Pretty simple. Yeah.
Sort of.
So what do you guys say?
Alright, can you say stocks?
So, we have 45% in the stocks, 35% in the bonds, and 20% in the cash.
Okay, and why do you guys think you chose those allocations?
Okay,
Um,
cool.
So I said we put our, most of our money in stocks because it's like an initial high risk but steady income over time.
Right.
And then I said we put our money in bonds because it's like, it might take a long time, but like, yeah, as like, it's like medium risk. So like as us right now, I don't think we're gonna die that soon. So we have 3 to 6 years hopefully to live. So there's like enough time to kind of get the steady income over time. Then cash, we said we don't really need that much because we mostly need it when we get older, but we don't need as much as we
Yeah,
do.
that sounds good. And
So our group said 80% stocks, 10% bonds, and 10% cash, because we're young and we still have a lot of time on our hands, so we can do a lot of stocks and get high return. And we said 10% cash to like buy something we want, and 10% bonds for diversification.
yeah, so believe it or not, guys, they're actually pretty accurate, although it kind of seems absurd, 80% of your money in stocks. Over time, the risk you have when investing in stocks is highly reduced, although all of your answers are correct because, some people have different risk tolerances, but believe it or not, there's actually a lot more stock that you guys should be investing in than you would initially think. So we're gonna do a quick review of the 3 things because I don't think we're gonna have time today, but in Mr. Stewart's class, I'm gonna give you a very short quiz. You guys are gonna do great on it. Starting with cash, of course, our lowest risk asset, and it's a very safe form of holding money. And then moving up in risk, bonds, average risk, and it's kind of like lending government or a company your money, and then they're gonna return that money to you with a fixed interest rate. And finally, stocks. It's the highest risk investment, and it involves owning part of the company. So I think we have 5 more minutes. Do you guys have any burning questions on the assets themselves? All right, great. And then the final thing is diversification. It's a way of distributing your investments into a lot of different areas. For example, you don't want to, let's just say you're investing some stocks into Apple. You don't want to just put it in one Apple, one company, one tech firm. You want to have it in some tech firms, maybe a car company, maybe an agricultural stock. So you just diversify it into all these different areas so that you can reduce your risk when investing. What I wanted to do is, we have 5 minutes, so I don't know if you guys want to finish the quiz or not.
If you want to give it to him, by all means.
I think you could. So just write your name and do your best. You guys are going to do fine. And the last question is very similar to what you guys did before this. Just be sure to explain, because there's many different correct answers.
You guys want to keep your hand out, or?
Try not to look at them for the quiz.
Thank you.
Everybody has one?
Mr. Stewart, this is graded or?
It'll, Axel will grade it as part of his grade.
Just do your best.
Yeah, just do your best. Do not sabotage.
Sure.
So, obviously, thank you guys for being a great audience. Tomorrow, we will have class, and we will go very quickly over this class. Remember, you have that homework assignment that's due tomorrow, the reading. I'm gonna give you that practice comprehension quiz. It's not graded, it's just practice. So please be prepared for that, and then we'll get into chapter 13 tomorrow.
Thanks for being a good audience.
Let's give Axel a round of applause.
Thank you. Sure, if you want to.
So Fagan, what'd you come up with for the challenge? What did you guys the guy who had the debt, 15,000 debt, 5,000 cash.
some stocks.
Nope, sorry, you already did
No.
Okay, so basically pay his debt down rapidly, but also save money, and then keep the cash.
She can't shoot.
That's what they told us in advisory.
What?
Didn't they tell us that?
Yeah, and then we said after he paid it off,
I heard
like the 10,000.
Into stocks.
No, if you stick a fork in a regular,
Like, what?
no, that's at $110.
That's
20.
Because your instinct was correct to pay the debt down as fast as you can. So you
Yeah,
don't pay the debt. But what you
Yeah.
not letting it until you're paying down your debt.
So I said it's like a ground.
Yeah, then start paying.